Hey guys, Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you my first impressions plus on-feet video of the brand new Adidas Ace 16.1 Primeknit in the launch solar green, black, and shock pink colorway. Now inside the box, they do include a string bag to go along with the shoes themselves. The string bag is solar green in color. It's a mesh material, as you guys can see, so you can see right through it. Black strings, you got your Primeknit branding going down the one side in black, and then your Adidas football branding at the bottom left corner. Other than that, all you're gonna find inside the box, as you guys can see, are the shoes themselves. So we'll get these guys out of the box really quickly, and we'll take a closer look at a shoe that I'm really excited to give a go. So this is the new Ace 16.1 Primeknit. So there are a lot of new Ace models for 2016, this being one of three top-end models, or four top-end models, I should say. You have the regular Ace 16.1, which I recently made a video of. You have a leather version of the Ace 16.1. You have the Ace 16.1 Primeknit, which is what these are. And then, of course, you have these guys right here, the laceless Ace 16 Plus Pure Control, which I think a lot of people are comparing both of these two shoes. I know a lot of questions will be around how are these different from the laceless shoes, and what I can tell you is that aside from the sole plate and stud pattern, which are pretty much the same, the upper and the general fit and feel and performance of the shoes are entirely different from each other. So I'm going to be talking about what those differences are throughout the video. So if you had that question, watch this entire video. It's going to explain pretty much everything that you need to know. Because like I said, this is not just the laceless boot with laces. There are a lot of differences. So in the video, we're going to go over all the tech specs, take a detailed kind of overview of this particular shoe. We're going to take a look at the weight, as well as take a look at how these things fit and feel on feet. So if you're interested in learning more about the Ace 16.1 Primeknit, please stick around and watch the entire video. If you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, you can go ahead and check out the review page on my website. That'll be the very first link down below in the description of this video. On that page, you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick these guys up below their normal $250 retail price. So the retail is $250, $50 less when compared to the laceless Pure Control model. So again, if you're interested in a pair, first link down below, go ahead and check it out. And with that being said, let's get right into the review. To start things off, let's go over all of the tech specs, because there's a lot of new features on this new 16.1 Primeknit. Now, like I mentioned at the start of the video, despite how this shoe might look and the features that it has, it's entirely different when compared to the laceless Pure Control model. If you guys would like my general thoughts and opinions and kind of my experience with the Pure Control, I'll leave an annotation on screen to my playtest video, where I basically go over all the details that you should know if you're looking for more info. And of course, along the way, I'm going to be comparing it to this shoe as well, if you're just curious about what the general differences are, which are significant. So with this shoe, you do have a Primeknit upper, and the actual pattern for the Primeknit, again, looks pretty similar to the laceless boot, but it's very different in terms of how it's reinforced. On the laceless model, yes, you have the visible Primeknit on the outside, but you have a very thick TPU plastic support cage on the outside, on the lateral side of the shoe, and then on the inside, you have a relatively thick microfiber material that lines the entire inside of the shoe and completely takes away from the knitted aspect of the upper, at least in terms of how it feels on your foot. It's a much stiffer shoe than you might expect, given how soft and kind of flexible and almost sock-like Primeknit models from Adidas have been, if you're comparing them to the Ace 15 Plus and the X 15 Plus that we've seen from Adidas in the past. So with this particular shoe, it does have a full Primeknit upper, and it only has a very thin liner on the inside, not that same microfiber liner that you're gonna find on the Ace Pure Control, the laceless boot. So this makes for a much more natural, much more sock-like kind of sensation when you're wearing this shoe, a much more flexible experience. I would argue a much more comfortable experience as well, again, when compared to the laceless shoe that feels a lot stiffer, just because you're not getting the sensation of that knitted upper. So the knit material, as you guys can see, is kind of more open in the areas where you have the two shades of green, and then a lot more dense in the areas where it's kind of a solid lime green. So along the edges of the sole plate in the forefoot and toe box area, you can see it's a lot more dense in terms of the knitting pattern, and then it kind of opens up across the parts of your foot that are mainly going to be making contact with the ball and don't require as much kind of structural integrity. On top of the actual Primeknit material, you're going to find a silicone layer which is again kind of what we saw on the Ace 15 Plus if I'm comparing it to a previous model from Adidas. And then of course you do have your non-stop grip dots on top of that as well, which is kind of Adidas's answer to Nike's ACC all condition control feature. It's supposed to act as a wet weather control element in terms of providing extra grip, but it's not something that I would say is a major feature on any of the top end models from Adidas. So if I get up close, you can kind of see the dots here and the parts that are more solid green. Again, very minimal feature, just adds a little bit of texturing to the surface, but something that I definitely don't think is a major feature or a major reason to buy this particular shoe. Also on top of the upper, you're gonna find the Adidas stripes, which you can see the Adidas stripes are on both sides. You might think that's just for branding purposes, but it does serve a performance purpose as well. These stripes are actually a thin layer of TPU plastic that go from the base of the sole into the lacing system. So when you pull the laces tight on both sides of the shoe, it pulls on these kind of TPU straps, if you want to call them that, and secures the midfoot area of your foot. It strengthens the upper and makes for a very responsive feel, despite the upper being pretty soft and flexible. As far as touch on the ball is concerned, the upper is on the thinner side, but because of the kind of more, I would say, open knitting pattern, it does have more of a kind of soft padded sensation to it. If I had to compare it to another shoe, it would be the Flyknit Nike Magista Obra, but maybe just a little bit thinner than that. But again, you have that nice thin liner on the inside, so for the most part, you really do feel like you're wearing a knitted upper, which is a nice positive experience. It's not too thick, not too thin, you get that little bit of softness, and it's just a pleasant shoe to wear in general when it comes to touch on the ball. Now, obviously the main difference when compared to the laceless Pure Control is the fact that this shoe has laces. And this really changes the game in terms of how this shoe feels and changes in terms of how Adidas had to reinforce the shoe. Again, because of the laces, they can take away a lot of that kind of those stiffener elements to the shoe that just makes the experience more comfortable, more flexible, and I think just better in the long run. So I removed the laces on this pair just so you can see exactly what's going on. Running through the middle of the shoe, or running through the middle part, extending to the what they call the prime cut collar or prime cut kind of shape to the shoe, the mid-cut design, if you will. You have an elasticated variety of Primeknit. So this is very similar to what we saw previously on the X15 Plus Primeknit, which is actually still available. It's still technically a current model. So what you have here is running from here all the way to here, a single layer of actual Primeknit, and then down the sides, as you guys can see, kind of attaching to the base of the sole, right here in the midfoot area on both sides, you have an elasticated kind of stabilizer internal booty, if you will, and then it's obviously stitched along the sides here, so this part doesn't actually open up. So when you put your foot inside, it kind of has that nice sensation of securing your foot in place even prior to tying the laces, and then when you add the laces, it locks everything in, and again, you get that nice responsive feel despite the upper being very soft and flexible. I really like this particular system on the X15 Plus Primeknit, so I expect to like it on this shoe as well, given that it's pretty much the exact same thing. But just keep in mind that through the midfoot, technically you do have 2 layers of material because of this internal structure. The actual tongue itself, if you want to call it that, does have the multiple cutouts running through the middle. They're claiming that to be kind of a control feature and that you're going to get more of the actual upper touching the ball as opposed to laces. Is it a major feature? Not necessarily, but you can see that it does kind of cover up the laces in 4 separate spots where they kind of crisscross. The actual collar itself, if you want to call it a mid-cut design, it is technically cut a little bit lower than the Nike models, but I don't really want to compare it to the Nike models simply because this is a collar that you don't really feel while you're wearing the shoe. It doesn't fit perfectly around your ankle. There's little extra gaps and stuff like that. So in that regard, it's the same when compared to the laceless model, but the general fit in the heel area is a lot different because of the addition of laces. Now you can see on the back, they almost gave it the look of a regular shoe from the outside, and then you just have the actual Primeknit here kind of stitched along the back and the side, so it technically can't unattach from the sides of the shoe. And the inside is really interesting in terms of its construction as well. It's not the same as what you're going to find on the laceless model. It's mostly Primeknit pretty much up to here. It's kind of difficult for me to show you guys. And then at the very bottom, hopefully you can see where there's a little bit of a change in material. There is a kind of synthetic suede lining on the inside with some padding as well. So there's also bumps in terms of padding going along the sides too. So the general fit and feel, while it is different from a standard low-cut shoe, it's not quite as different as you might expect. Certainly not to the same extent as what you're going to find from the mid-cut models from Nike. These feel, in my opinion, a little bit more natural and a little bit more comfortable out of the box when compared to those mid-cut models from Nike, where the heel can feel a little bit stiff. So very interesting concept. It's a very open heel, so I do have some kind of skepticism around it just in terms of heel slippage, because if you look at the space between the actual back of the heel and the last lace holes, there's a pretty big gap here. Normally you would think it would be a little bit closer, but again, based on just trying them on and walking around and even doing a little bit of juggling, I didn't have any issues with them thus far. So fairly optimistic, but also a little bit skeptical on this particular design. Only time will tell. And of course, we'll talk about that a little bit more during the on-feet portion of the video. Insole, fully removable mesh liner on top, perforations throughout, single layer of foam, same insole we got with the previous Ace 15.1 model, and they only include one set of insoles, unlike the laceless model that does come with two sets. As far as the sole plate and stud pattern is concerned, this is consistent across all the top-end models from Adidas for the new Ace 16 line. Obviously, this doesn't have the kind of more anodized look to it where the paint will actually wear off. This is just standard. It's a sprint frame construction with the heel counter all built into one, along with the sole plate. Very similar to what we've seen from the F50 Adizero line, most closely to the actual original Adizero from 2010, which is really interesting how Adidas kind of just decided to eliminate the sprint frame and then bring it back on this new Ace line, but nonetheless makes for a very lightweight construction. It's got the stiffener bars through the middle, but still remains relatively flexible through the forefoot area. And then you have their ground control 2.0 stud pattern, which isn't really a revolution in any means, by any means. It's again kind of just reverting back to what Adidas has done in the past with their Adizero line, but instead of the studs being triangle in shape, they're perfectly round, and it's got the same layout. So the performance is there. It's technically listed as an FGAG stud pattern. I have used this particular stud pattern on artificial grass. Didn't really have any major issues with it. They didn't feel too clingy, but I feel like the studs are still a little bit too long for artificial grass. But again, if you're looking for a pair of shoes that you can wear on both artificial and natural playing surfaces, you technically can get away with it with this particular shoe, both in terms of performance, safety, as well as durability. They should hold up, given that, like I said, they are technically made to be used on artificial grass, at least according to Adidas. So traction and general performance in that regard is definitely there. So that's pretty much it as far as tech specs. I think I covered just about anything. If you guys do require any more clarification as far as tech specs go, feel free to ask your questions down below in the comment section. And with that being said, let's move on to a quick weigh-in so we can see how lightweight these guys are. As far as weight is concerned, I thought we'd compare the laceless Ace 16 Plus Pure Control to the laced Ace 16.1 Primeknit to see if there's any significant weight difference between the two. So I'm going to be weighing both shoes for you today in real time using this scale. Keep in mind these are both in brand new condition and both the exact same size 9 US, so this is a very fair comparison. We'll start off with the laceless Pure Control, and you can see that they weigh in at 8.05 ounces, the equivalent of 228 grams. So remember those numbers, change the scale back to ounces, pull these off, and we'll throw on the Ace 16.1 Primeknit, and you can see that they weigh in at 8 ounces, the equivalent of 227 grams. So they're technically 1 gram lighter than the laceless Pure Control. Is that a significant amount of weight? Absolutely not. It's to the point where I would say these two shoes are pretty much identical, both in hand as well as on feet, both relatively light, but very different in terms of overall feel. So keep that in mind. Are they the lightest shoes around? Absolutely not, but they're definitely not what I would consider to be heavy shoes either. In terms of aesthetics, these definitely do look different when compared to the laceless Pure Control model, but also kind of unique in terms of the general shape and silhouette of the shoe. Obviously, this Ace model, same thing goes for the laceless boot. It does have their prime cut, is what they call it, which is this kind of straight, almost like mid-ankle cut. It is kind of unusual looking. I think it looks better on feet than it does just in my hands. But it's not something that I'm entirely sold on. I don't mind how it feels, but visually it's something that I'm still not crazy about. This being the launch colorway, it is a very bright solar green color, which is essentially a lime green, with the Adidas stripes being a combination of shock pink and black with that little pattern where it transitions from pink at the bottom to black at the top, which of course continues across the top of the shoe through the lacing system, which I think looks really cool. I like the new look of the A16 line with the Adidas stripes going all the way across the shoe. I think that's pretty neat. You have the Ace logo in pink right there on the top of the tongue, if you want to call it that. And then of course your pink Adidas branding on the back as well. I like that you can see the pattern of the actual Primeknit upper, which is pretty cool. And you have kind of two different shades of green, a lighter shade and a darker shade when you get up close. And then of course the sprint frame, pretty much solid green in color. You have pink studs and then a little bit of black detailing with kind of like a frosted matte finish on the surface at the base of the sole plate in the forefoot area. So not crazy about the colorway. I don't think it's the best looking shoe ever. I think that the regular low cut A16.1 is visually a little bit more appealing, but overall, I don't think it's a bad looking shoe. It's just something different. And with anything different, it's one of those things that I'm sure will grow on me over time. Once more colorways come out, I'm sure I'll find one that I absolutely love the look of. But let me know your opinions on this down below in the comment section. Do you like how these look? Why or why not? And with that being said, let's move on to the on-feet portion of the video so we can get a better idea as to how these shoes fit and of course what the sizing is like. All right, so here is a look at the A16.1 Primeknits on feet. On my left foot, I have the stock laces that come with the shoes. And on my right foot, I have a pair of black and pink grid pattern SR4U replacement laces. If you're interested in a pair of replacement laces for yourself, the website to go to is www.sr4ulaces.com. Find a direct link to that website down below in the description of this video. Now, in terms of how these things fit and feel on feet, they're very comfortable from right out of the box and a lot different when compared to the laceless Pure Control model. The upper, being that it does have that very thin liner, especially in the forefoot and toe box area, it's soft, it's flexible, feels very natural, and is pretty reminiscent of what we got from the Ace 15 Plus Primeknit model. The midfoot, though, is much more secure, much more locked down. You have those TPU plastic Adidas stripes that when you pull the laces tight, it fits very snug, and it does have a tighter overall fit, especially through the midfoot. So as far as width is concerned, I would say that these are going to be suitable for most foot types, but if you don't like a super tight fit through the midfoot, maybe not the best option for you. As far as fit in the heel is concerned, it does have more of a standard layout in terms of the padding on the inside and how it actually cups your heel, but there is still some stiffness that you kind of get from this mid-cut design that they've incorporated, but definitely not as stiff as what you're going to find from other mid-cut models out there, be it the Pure Control or any of the models from Nike. These feel actually pretty comfortable and fairly normal from right out of the box. As far as the collar is concerned, it's kind of cut halfway on your ankle, I suppose. The collar on this particular shoe does fit a little bit more snug than what you're going to find on the laceless model, but there is still kind of a loose gap here. You don't really feel it while you're wearing the shoe, again, unlike the Nike models where it does feel a little bit strange at first and you kind of get used to it, just having a little bit of extra material on your ankle. But this, like I said, it's almost not noticeable at all when you're actually wearing them. And like I said, the fit overall, I'm really impressed. The material, it's flexible in the right spots, it's supportive in the right spots, and they just feel really good. Again, width-wise, it's tighter through the middle, but still will be suitable for most foot types. So as long as you don't have extremely wide feet, you shouldn't have any issues as far as width is concerned. And as far as sizing goes, I'm wearing my usual size 9 US here, and the fit and the length is absolutely perfect. So if you are looking to order a pair of these for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. All right, guys, that is it for my first impressions of the new Adidas A16.1 Primeknit. Expect to see lots of follow-up content on this shoe as well as the rest of the new Ace models in the near future on this channel. If you guys are interested in a pair of these for yourself, be sure to check out the review page on my website. That'll be the very first link down below in the description of this video. On that page, you'll find high quality images of this exact pair that I took myself. That'll give you a better idea as to how these actually do look in person, as well as buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you'll be able to pick these guys up below their normal $250 retail price. So again, if you're interested in a pair, first link down below, go ahead and check it out. If you have any questions at all regarding the A16.1 Primeknit, leave those questions down below in the comment section. I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.